Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 12th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery here. You can see the cold air spilling out over the Gulf of Alaska here, continuing the troughing and bringing this moisture back into the Pacific Northwest. You can see clouds on the increase as we go through the day to day. Some precipitation starting this evening and tonight for many areas here, already ongoing across portions of Oregon as we speak. We're going to continue this precipitation on for the next couple of days. We'll take a look at those details and who's going to get the most amount mountain snows out of the system here coming up. We'll also take a look at the extended as always, and we'll try to pick out to see if we're going to warm up a little bit towards the end of this week. A little bit of signs of ridging here coming up towards the end of the weeks here. So we'll look and see what the weather models have to say about that. Time to spring forward here. Nice graphic from the National Weather Service. If for some reason you totally missed this, we're an hour ahead of where we were at this time yesterday. Looking at Seattle, every single day this month below average here, and we're not getting that much precipitation either. And check this out. Back in 1947, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 straight days of record highs. All into the lower 70s, just a downright little heat wave there for March. And you can see 2019 also had 3 straight days of 76, 79, and 79. That would be quite nice, I think, right about now. I could use some warm weather. Here we go. Excessive rainfall outlook actually includes some of the Seattle metro area here. Not expecting incredibly heavy amounts for the lower elevations here. So it just kind of throwing us a bone here, but nothing really to be concerned about right now. The big action is going to be down into southwest Oregon, into California over the next few days. This is looking at day 2. Does include some of the Willamette Valley here in southwest Oregon. Again, here are some pretty good moisture amounts. Are going to be moving into southwest Oregon down there. So heads up for that action. Here we go. Early week mountain snow, valley rain. A little bit of snowfall showing up in the model runs here for Pullman, Spokane there, but you can see really scaled back to the higher terrain at this time of year. It starts to get harder and harder to get that lower elevation snowfall, but you could see some getting out towards Ritzville as well. But watch out for areas like Lookout Pass, Stevens, Snoqualmie Pass for winter driving conditions as we go on in through today, on in through Tuesday morning here, and you can see the impacts over there. Here we go. European last night, so you can see this moisture streaming into the area as we speak. And we kind of continue it on all the way through Monday morning. You see the frontal system start to pass here, and then a strong low pressure system going into California continues that precipitation across Oregon, prolonged all the way in through Tuesday afternoon. Now we're into Wednesday morning before it finally starts kicking out here, and we continue some precip across western Washington, Oregon, in the form of snowfall for the Cascades and some of the higher terrain of BC through Wednesday morning there. And then maybe we'll start to build a little bit of ridging here. We'll look at that here in a moment. Look at a total snow Kuchera ratio, and here we go on in through tonight. You can see the snow piling up across BC, Washington, then that low comes ashore here, continuing the snowfall across Oregon. So watch out across the higher terrain, Idaho, Oregon, Idaho Panhandle, western Montana, and you guys know avalanche conditions are, they're fairly robust out there right now. So heads up if you're going back in the backcountry here with all the new snow falling here across the next few days as well. This is looking at total precipitation in inches, and like I mentioned here, you'll see not a lot showing up for Seattle, but I mean, half an inch isn't nothing to sneeze at. It's not bad. We'll take it. Been actually relatively dry the last couple months here across Pacific Northwest. We'll take a look at some of those maps coming up here in a moment, but you can see a lot of this initially falling Cascades west. And then you can see that low pressure move across the area here, bringing some rainfall to the lower elevations here across southeast Washington. This is always good to see before the growing season starts to get going here across eastern Washington. This will really help some of the crops and just kind of keep that soil a bit more moist here. And you can see the precipitation continuing on as we go on in through Tuesday afternoon. Here we go into Tuesday night. Now we're into Wednesday morning here, so not bad. This is a pretty beneficial storm. Hopefully it's dropping some rainfall and some snowfall across the drought-stricken areas on the east slopes of the Cascades of Oregon there also. Now looking at this is total snowfall Kuchera ratio. If we put that into motion, you can see a lot of this is resigned to the higher terrain here as we go. The Blue Mountains, Northeast Washington gets a bit. But as we go through on let's see, what is this? Tuesday night on into very early Wednesday morning, you could see a little bit of snowflakes mixing in somewhere across mainly Seattle north across the area here. Again, we're not expecting a big snowfall or accumulating snowfall down to anywhere near sea level here with this setup, but you might see some flakes flying around the area, but no significant accumulations are expected expected. You can see maybe a little bit better chances as you go east out of Spokane here. And of course, some of the higher terrain in the Blue Mountains getting in on the action there as well. This is for Oregon here. Let's put this into motion, and you can see some nice snowfall amounts across. Look at Bend, Oregon getting in on the snowfall as we go on in through Wednesday afternoon, shown here. Idaho, Montana, let's take a look at this. Put it into motion, and you guys saw that pretty high avalanche danger yesterday. It's been scaled back today, but they're going to dump a bunch more snowfall here. As you can see, some areas getting well up over a foot, maybe even close to 2 feet across some of the higher terrain there of Idaho, and you can see the valley areas just maybe a little skiff, but as you get towards the Idaho Falls, you might get some better amounts there. A couple inches are possible, and out towards Yellowstone as well, some big snowfall amounts are possible there also. Now, taking a look here, this is a wider view of things here at 700 millibars, 10,000 feet. If we put this into motion, this is that system moving through here. The air is fairly cold aloft, not exceptionally cold, though. And you can kind of see this continuing on as we go through the day Wednesday. And then maybe we start to get some ridging building out here. More on that here in a moment. This is looking at 850 millibar winds, just kind of explaining why we're not expecting any lowland snowfall here. You've got some continental air moving out over the Gulf of Alaska here, bringing that cold air out across the Gulf of Alaska. You get the southerly flow here, and this is just not a recipe here for lowland snowfalls. You can see the southerly winds. We need that cold continental Arctic air to take a short path off the coast of BC and back into western Oregon, Washington, to get in any really chance of some significant lowland snows. And we're just not getting it at this point. You can see this onshore flow that's going on here and just continues on as we continue to bring another system in through Wednesday, shown here. Now let's take a look at our ridging potential here. This was last night's European run, the control. This goes out 144 hours. Put that into motion. You can see the couple of systems rolling through Wednesday morning, but then look at that little glimmer of hope here as we move through the later portion of this week. Maybe we'll get a couple fairly warm days, or maybe at least a little bit above average here temperature-wise across some of the area. We'll see how this goes, but you can see the Gulf of Alaska trough is active here, and it's probably going to start bringing more precipitation, or at least some clouds, and cool us back down as we go on in through later portions of the weekend coming up here. But if we're lucky, we might be able to squeeze a couple nice days out of this here. And looking at the national blend of models, you can see Seattle as we go through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, slightly above average here as we go. Maybe we'll uptrend on these temperatures as well. Maybe we'll get a 60-degree day out of this coming up here as we go towards the weekend. Now, looking at Portland, you can see that same similar trend here as well. Maybe we'll get some temperatures up into the 60s. We'll see how this trends over the next day or two. Generally below average, though, through Wednesday across much of the Pacific Northwest. That storm system moving through Spokane. You can see the little bump in temperatures there, but you got that nice thawing and then refreezing cycle going on. So heads up for the black ice out there across the region as well, especially across the higher terrain. And again, if you missed this the last few days, we've been talking about this. Looks like El Nino is now favored by the time we get towards August, September, October, November. We are probably headed towards El Nino conditions. We don't know how strong the El Nino is going to be at this point. We're just going to watch the models as we go. And you can see we are in neutral territory right now, but that should be waning by the time we get towards summer. And you can see La Nina, not 0% chance, but very unlikely that it would return for a fourth season. Looking at avalanche danger here, there is some considerable avalanche danger and some moderate. So if you're going to the backcountry, check out avalanche.org, click on that, and do your best to keep yourself updated here. And there's probably going to be an uptrend here in some of the avalanche danger with this next system moving through here as we get on towards Wednesday. This is percent of average precipitation. So it's kind of interesting here. It seems like kind of a wet, cool winter/spring here, but you can see January 11th through March 11th here, much of the state is below average precipitation, except for some areas up on, the east slopes, the Cascades, Okanagan River Valley, maybe up there a little bit here, but much of the state is below average here. Kind of an interesting look at the average precipitation over the last couple of months. Here's for Oregon here as well, and that drought-stricken area is here, so they're still below average over the last couple of months. We need some precip out there. Hopefully we can get it here before we start moving into the spring and summer months coming up. This is for Idaho as well. Some of the higher terrain not doing too bad, but a lot of the state still below average precipitation amounts. And Montana's kind of more hit and miss. Some areas are doing pretty well here, but you can kind of see just a scattered nature of this over the last couple of months here. So yeah, we're going to remain busy here over the next couple of days through Wednesday with the system moving through off and on rain across the area. Nice frontal system coming through tonight, tomorrow morning before it passes through. And then we're going to continue that precip across some of the higher terrain of Oregon. Hopefully we can get those drought-stricken areas, some snow and rainfall out there and try to reduce that drought. Yeah, and then we're going to cross our fingers and hope we warm up here a little bit towards the end of the week and the weekend coming up here. So, maybe we'll get a couple nice days out of this yet. And, springtime's getting closer. Now the sun's going to be setting after 7 p.m., so that could make for some nice evenings if we can warm things up a little bit here. But anyway, yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll take a look at how things are trending, especially off in the extended forecast, and I'll talk to you guys then.